never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No I'm not giving up, no I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Tonight's episode is going to be a very special one because we're going to cover our most recent investigation up in Bardin, and we're going to talk about a variety of topics which should be rather exciting. The amount of responses we're getting from our radio show has been increasing on I'd say every couple weeks. More and more people are tuning in, listening. Some of the people are starting to download and listen to our previous webcasts. So the radio show is growing, and I think that I'd like to integrate it more into the site, and continue to do this for years to come, because I think that the radio show plays a big part in what we do. Sure, I can show you guys thousands and thousands of photos from our paranormal investigations, but to actually sit here and be able to tell you about it makes it all the more believable, rather than just looking at a photo, or hearing some EVP. Don't get me wrong, some of the ghost photos we get, they're very good ghost photos, but we also like to show the places we visit, and I also like to tell you a little bit about them, as we go on our journeys all the time. So the radio show is just here so that way we can be able to get our voice out on these places and tell you a little bit about them, just like the town of Bardin. And the reason why we went up to Bardin a couple weeks ago is we went to investigate a creature. It's often called the Bardin Boogeyman, the Bardin Booger. It was seen back in the 80s. Actually, 87 it was when it was at its peak. A lot of the locals were having sightings of this thing in the woods. People seen it carrying a dog and running across the road. Some people actually had this creature throw stones at them. Other people report that it's come up to people's vehicles and shook the vehicle. There's just a lot of different reports going on, and it's strange because the local store, they sell t-shirts about it, and they have a strange bulletin board with all the news articles, which I was not able to view because the store was closed. But it's a pretty big tourist attraction here in Florida. A lot of people go up there and they camp out in those woods hoping to see something. It's kind of funny how when you read about people's experiences, how they're scared to camp, and it's like, that's the last thing you got to worry about. What you got to worry about is the rednecks out here. I mean, I'll tell you, doing some of these investigations, I'm very thankful for what I got. I'm very thankful that I'm in one piece, because a lot of people down here shoot and ask questions later, and if they're not shooting, the cops are tasering. It's a horrible state to investigate in. It's a very hard state to investigate in or explore in. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can get yourself in a lot more trouble than you ever bargained for. So, you got to stay on top of things. But the thing is, Bardin's this little secluded town. It's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, of course, there's a pretty big town nearby. But, they call this area Old Florida. A lot of it's dirt roads. You get a few houses here and there. You might get a general store that's been open for the last 20, 30 years, and everybody knows the owners and everybody knows everybody in town. And of course, Old Florida will disappear because a lot of people are dredging the swamps out here and they're putting housing down. The problem is that it's a lot of low-lying areas, so when it rains, it floods, and then people get water in their house, or like if there's a hurricane that hits here. And this is not the best state. The state was never meant to be built on. Most of it is Indian burial ground. And of course, Bardin was inhabited by the Indians. At least a little bit of history tells us so. Because they actually had an Indian village nearby. In addition to that, of course, wherever there's Native American people and tribes and villages, a lot of strange sightings and mythological creatures are also seen. A lot of people think, it's not possible, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And of course, the Bardin Booger is basically a cousin of Bigfoot. Some people describe him as some monster, and they got all these descriptions that don't fit Bigfoot, and then others give descriptions that do. Some people say he's got a pig nose and a man face, orange fur or orange reddish. There's a lot of different side species of Sasquatch. You got the Yeti, you got the wild man in China, you got the Yowie of Australia, you got the, I guess you could call the West Coast type of Bigfoot, the ones that get maybe 10 to 12 feet. And they're usually covered in pretty thick fur because it gets really cold up in the mountains. You have different types. A lot of people say, I don't believe in Sasquatch, I know it's not true. And the fact is, yes, it is true. They have recovered bones many times. They just have not recovered any bones recently. But they have recovered bones that are supposed to be, they say, thousands of years old. And, the argument is what if these creatures are still alive? Maybe they're not extinct. Scientists and archaeologists and anthropologists and all those things, they say, hey, Bigfoot is an extinct creature. Although at one time, these 10-foot half-ape-like creatures roamed this planet. But that's not the case. I mean, we're still sighting them. So whether it's an apparition we're sighting, or maybe these creatures were advanced and found out how to be elusive to some ability we're not aware of, I don't know. But there was one sighted up in the area, just one. It was the same one. Still today, some of the locals get a sighting on occasion. I mean, you got the state forest that's up the road. Actually, the whole area is kind of state forest. So, yeah, you're looking at, I think it's 15,000 acres up in that area of woods, maybe more. And of course, if you know anything about Florida, one state forest connects to another state forest, or a preserve, or whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of wildlife management areas. it's inaccessible by car. Most of it's swampland. Most of it's very heavy terrain through alligator country. You go through parts of the forest that are like jungle, with giant forest leaves and palms, and then you go to another area, it's just so thick of woods you can't even penetrate it. And of course, in Florida, when you can get past some of these thick woods, you got these clearings and these open areas surrounded by trees. So that's where you're going to get something living back in there. And of course, we covered this patch of woods. It's got a lot of different trails. One of them follows houses, probably goes up into the state forest, because I've heard that backpackers have hiked for miles all the way into Bardin. We didn't find that trail. We found a bunch of other trails, and we started getting close near someone's backyard with big dogs. I turned away. And I just ended up taking a different trail. But we ended up hiking a lot of the trails where this thing was sighted heavily back in the 80s. And of course, you can tell hunters have used it. And, maybe back then when there was less houses, there was probably less hunters and less people on four wheels. This thing was probably living back there. But it's pretty interesting of an area because we have some very interesting creeks. They don't seem gator infested. They're actually very clear. The water is, of course. They actually resembled more like the creeks up north than the creeks down south. And of course, we followed the one creek up, and of course that could go for miles in just thick Florida woods. There's no houses or nothing nearby. But we followed that up, and we came across some structure and heard some banging on the inside. And we assessed that it is rain, or not rain, but rather water drops hitting the inside. But the thing is that it has been dry for a couple weeks now, so we're trying to figure out what the deal was with that. Just a square structure, just made out of metal. It's on some pillars, and it's got a drain pipe right into the creek, and that's it. But there's also a lot of garbage back there. There was a pond, and there was an overgrown trail which we started to take, and then it started to close off, and we decided to turn around because we do a lot of investigations. And the thing is, with cryptozoology expeditions, you got to camp out. You got to be able to hike for 3-4 miles or 6 hours, 8 hours, and I just don't have that type of time and tolerance here in Florida for it. It's just very frustrating to hike in the woods. It's very frustrating to have to play Indiana Jones and start hacking down jungle leaves and everything else. But Florida's got more tree coverage than most states I've been in. I mean, even you pull down my street where I live in a residential area, and it's just covered in fauna. I mean, old trees that drape the road, and it just blocks out the sun. It's just incredible. But that's what I'm trying to say, is that if something is out there, this is the place where it's going to hide. Florida is the third top state for Sasquatch sightings. Of course, almost every state has had Sasquatch sightings. Hawaii is the only one that's lacked it, but now recently I did hear that Hawaii has had a couple also. I don't know. Maybe something is able to travel. It just sounds unrealistic, but maybe something's able to use wormholes. Or maybe it's invisible to our eye. I don't know. Unless what we are seeing is actually apparitions. And there's just a lot of different theories you can have of what is Bigfoot. But they say the one in Bardin is a little bit different than the skunk ape. Because the skunk ape in Florida is a cousin of Bigfoot, and it's a little smaller, so it's a little more aggressive because it wants to make up for, as opposed to the tall ones who have nothing to fear. These things are very territorial. They can't do a lot of traveling because Florida, even though Florida is very green, it's very limited in size. It's from one end to the Gulf Coast to the Atlantic coast, it's about 110 miles. Maybe 100 in some areas, and it's not very wide state. You have national forests. Some of them cover, like Ocala, 400,000 acres. That's a lot of area for something to hide. Occasionally, something comes out, crosses the road, someone gets a sighting. But the skunk ape is more in the Everglades. This here is a northern species of Bigfoot, and a lot of locals feel he's moved on because nobody's really having any sightings. It wasn't like it was in the 80s, but most of the people who've been in that town can actually tell you a strange story about it. So we set off in the woods. I grabbed my backpack, and when we took some photos. We walked around down some of the trails. Not a lot of activity. You know, I noticed towards the end of an investigation, that's when the activity begins, because maybe you spend just enough time to grab something's attention. Something knows you're out there, it's following you, trying to figure out what you're doing. You know, after about, I'd say, a good hour of hiking, we came to the end of the hike, and I started hearing some noises off in the woods, like movement, like something was just pushing the branches aside, watching us. It's like magic, you know, these things just appear. They don't have to come crashing through the woods for a mile away. All of a sudden, they're just there. I mean, I can't explain it to you. There is no explanation. That's why they call it paranormal. But these are good speculations and good theories. As far as I'm concerned, afterwards we went to a cemetery, which was also the site of this creature. Of course, it's surrounded by woods. And of course, across the roads, more woods. And, you know, like I said, we did the cemetery. We ended up hiking to this creek and up in the woods, and it was pretty dark. It's pretty airy back in there. If something happened to us, nobody would find us. It's just that type of place. Very secluded. And then we came out of there and we did some other cemeteries up in the area. And one of the cemeteries we went to was down this abandoned road a couple miles back. It was a dirt road, you know, there's maybe a ranch out there, but it dead ended at the cemetery. And, you know, I could barely open the gate. It was overgrown. There was, I don't know, I'd say grass growing in some places 4 to 5 feet high. Some of the graves were buried by brush. Stones were tipped and fallen over and cracked in half. And, I mean, it was just a phenomenal cemetery. And, you know, this is the type of place you see in a horror movie. It's not the type of place you'd want to be staying too long at night. It's just those eerie feelings grow on you. You're down a dead-end dirt road. It's tough to turn around. I mean, the road ends at a cemetery. You know, it's a cemetery where you can feel different ghost here. Just watching, like, what is this person doing? But you also know it's a site of rituals and cult activity. And you know, you can tell, like, for example, you know, you can go in a cemetery and you can see if something's made a path for the grass. That's not the case. So you can tell that we were probably the only ones who've been there in the past year. It was just that type of cemetery. Really creepy. Comet Homes was shining overhead. I have to say that during my journeys, you know, I have no regrets. I've seen eclipses. I've seen comets. You name it, I've seen. I've hiked out in a meteorite shower, so it's kind of, everything goes hand in hand. You know, you could sit there and say, well, you know, I'm an urban explorer and I explore places. And, you know, what makes those places worth exploring is that you got your friends with you. And, you know, that's something memorable, along with the little things like meteorite showers and comets and lunar eclipses. And it's the same thing with the paranormal, you know. You go out there and you see something with one of your friends, you see a ghost, and you're like, wow, did that really happen? And it's something the two of you are never going to forget. Unfortunately, we don't really have a team presently. I have one investigator helping me out. You know, everybody's either quit or doesn't want to volunteer, or, you know, they're too busy starting their own paranormal groups locally, or amateur groups, or whatever you want to call them. And, you know, we had a guy on my paranormal group, and it's kind of funny, you know, because, you know, I'm not the type to just ream somebody for no reason. You know, a lot of people, when I first started my Paranormal Buffalo forum, for example, the first time you're actually running a forum, I was new at it, you know, so I had to get all the bugs out of the system. But, you know, a lot of people said, oh, you censor our posts and all that. It's like, nah, you know, we try to keep the riffraff out. We don't want people blaming other members. But anyways, we had this person join a couple months ago. Now, they've been running their own amateur group, I don't know for how long, maybe less than a year. And they're a couple miles from me. I say about 2, 3, 4 miles. They're just in the town right up the road from me. And you know, it gets me because these amateur groups, what they end up doing is they join my paranormal group, and they're local, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, let's go here, and there, and they get all their friends together, and then pretty soon they got a group, or what they call a group. And honestly, they have no clue to what they're doing. You know, they're just going out there, they're amateurs, and when they encounter a guy in the woods that's got a hatchet, or a guy holding up a gun, or they get bit by a snake, they're not going to know what the hell to do. They're not. You know, what I do here for my organization as a founder is I have specific training in every area. And it's not just training you go to school for. It's the idea that you go in these places and you start to build knowledge about certain situations and certain safety issues and so on. You know, you could take, you know, an amateur group can end up going in some abandoned asylum. Somebody falls to the floor, somebody dies. You know, as opposed to the professional group who knows about weak floors and knows that you've got to take safety precautions wherever you go and the right preparations. It's that simple. So, you know, now that we're talking about safety and everything else, going back, this person sits on my paranormal forum, and anybody could join my forum. I run a lot of paranormal forums. They're there so you can enjoy the articles or just talk about a certain topic or off-topic situation type of thing. Whatever. It's just a way for you to communicate with me to communicate with you. And it's also a way for me to recruit new investigators for our organization. The guy sits there a couple months. Well, some girl posts saying, hey, you know, I want to go check out some haunted places. They're like, oh, you know, you can come out with our group and, well, you know, we can join together and find haunted places together. It's like, what the hell? You know, I've been sitting here doing most of the investigations a couple months, and all of a sudden this guy steps on my toes. You know, it's like, you run an amateur group, shouldn't you be investigating for the forum you belong to? I mean, if you're under my forum and you live within a couple miles, why would you go out there and form your own group? And the thing is that it's bad because, you know, everything that you're doing, you're not finding your own places. You're relying on other exploration groups and paranormal organizations to gather your data. You're not going out there and finding places and saying, hey, this is an original. And you're sitting there saying, hey, I'll join Lord Rick's list, and I'll go to that abandoned house he was at. And, you know, this is a group that kind of upset me because they sit there and they belong to my list, yet, you know, they have these huge meetups, and it's like, come on. It's like all of a sudden you have meetups. You know, I hate conflict. And I hate people that try to influence our organization or actually try to hurt it, even if they don't know they're doing it. You know, if you're sitting there locally and you start your own group and you start stealing investigators and you start holding your own meetups, you know, what's that going to do for us? People aren't going to show to our meetups. I'm not going to have no investigators. I don't care who runs their own group. You run your own group as a hobby, fine. But people need to work together as allies, and they need to learn to work together peacefully. And, you know, when people start to take advantage of my forums and stuff, and when people, you know, sit there and say, hey, Lord Rick's a badass, mean guy, it's not true. I'm very experienced at what I do. I'm very good at what I do. And, you know, I've been around, and I've seen a lot of groups start and a lot of groups quit. I've seen people get seriously hurt going to the places that I have gone. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being allies. There's nothing wrong with doing investigations together. But for Pete's sakes, you know, if you're a couple miles away, you know, you're on my forum, don't go starting your own group and asking my members to investigate for you. it, because why I'm out there busting my ass and the Booger is chasing me in the woods, and you're sitting there, you got about 100 of my members showing your meetup and your investigations, all because you wanted to start your own group. And, you know, people just, the thing is that as time goes on the internet, there are more disrespectful amateur groups than anything. You know, we're not an amateur group. I mean, we've been around for a long time. Paranormal and Ghost Society has been around since, you know, early 2000. And it just started off as a forum, then I built the site. And then eventually we built our own little traditions and additions and things. And, you know, we started off in New York. We worked our way down here in Florida. And, of course, now we're going out west. And out west is the biggest project for me, because I'm dealing with a lot of things to contend with out west. Mines, deserts, mountains, terrain. You know, I'm dealing with mountain lions, grizzly bears, wild animals, a lot more than Florida. You know, sure, Florida's got their swamps and their alligators and their crazy old coons hiding up in the woods and, you know, rednecks and everything else, but nothing that I can't really handle as a founder. But out west is the unexpected. Out west is like fire in the sky, like the movie. You see glowing lights in the woods, you're going to get abducted. You know, you go out to Area 51, you're going to get arrested. You're going to have a gun put to your head. There's a lot more risk involved. So it's 10 times more risk, 10 times more getting busy, or should I say, we'll be getting more involved with a wider paranormal topic, not just ghost anymore. It's going to start increasing the Bigfoot and the UFOs. You know, not that I haven't done a lot of cryptozoology investigations up in New York and Pennsylvania and Florida here, but, you know, out there you're dealing with a lot of seclusion. I mean, you're dealing with dirt roads that go for miles and miles and miles away from the nearest town. And you take these logging roads, you take a 20-mile logging road in the middle of the woods. Something's going to be out there, because man has not really graced the area. And, you know, there are things that don't belong in this world that exist out in the most secluded places on Earth. But I am looking forward to my move out west. I already have one person who wants to volunteer and help on investigations. I could imagine I'll have more. People from out west are a lot more cool than a lot of people from Florida. Florida, it is what it is. It's the Bible state. And, you know, a lot of people are either very religious and very against the paranormal, and then the other half are transplants, tourists that come down here and they move, and you know, life is in the fast lane. It's all about money, and I mean, they have no understanding of Bigfoot. They have no understanding of ghost history. I mean, they don't care about any of these plantations. So why would they volunteer for our organization? So it's very hard to find people to participate down here. You know, most people are very scared. They go on about snakes and little 100-pound black bear and how thick the woods could be and how there could be alligators. And everybody's very scared. Everybody lives in fear down here. I haven't met too many fearless people. But we're a pretty fearless organization. And I do what it takes to get my story, do what it takes to find the truth. Some of the pictures I put up doesn't necessarily mean they're ghosts, but we would like people to draw their own conclusions from them. And I know in the past a lot of hate groups go, you and your little orb pictures, and it's like, I never said that the orb was real or not. We don't know. That's why it's called paranormal. I can give you my opinion and say, well, I think it's real, but I don't know if it's real. Now, in some of the ghost pictures we got, because we got over 50,000 anomaly pictures, definitely could tell you that a majority of them are ghosts. Many of them are ghosts. Yeah, I got a couple ghosts. I got this one ghost. got a soldier hat on, all in ectoplasm with a camouflage hat, and you can see his teeth and his smile, and he's grinning, and you can see his beady eyes looking down, and his chin structure and everything. You know, and we've gotten ghosts, and we've proved they've existed, and since we've proved they've existed over the years, a lot of people have pushed us away. Because when we first started off, they said, you're an amateur group. You're not going to be able to prove the existence of the paranormal. And I did. And it only took one photo out of the 50,000 to say, hey, there's something going on beyond our world. And, you know, people always resent those who are a success. People always resent those who actually try to show the truth. And a lot of people can't handle the truth. And a lot of you listening to this show probably could not handle the fact, if you really know that humans were one giant experiment. You probably couldn't handle it. You probably could not handle the fact if aliens landed here and enslaved the earth tomorrow. Or, you know, these are things I could handle. I could accept the apocalypse. I could accept that there's life in the universe. I could accept that there is no God. Even though I don't believe in God, my theory is that everything has to do with science. You know, there are some things that are unexplained that might have to do with spirituality, that, you know, you can ask it all the questions of the world, you're never going to understand. The universe is vast, there's a lot of knowledge. That's just the way life works. And this planet still has a lot of mysteries that we need to uncover, and that's why paranormal organizations like myself that I run exist today. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about some paranormal news or some odd news. First I'd like to talk about is that in Orlando, the world's largest airplane had landed. It's called the Airbus. And they say in about a year and a half there'll be Airbuses flying all over the world. Technically, a lot of the international airports are going to use them. I don't know the name offhand, but it is the world's largest plane, and they call it Airbus something something. And supposedly it has 500 to 600 seats, or it can hold at least up to 600 passengers around. First class, the seats recline back, or more like you can lie down. The plane has lounges. It's just huge. If you think a 747's large, this thing's about twice the size of a 747. And of course, they said, you know, the plane was built to alleviate the amount of people traveling. And of course, you know, it may not be a paranormal story, or maybe it is. Because in history, if you look, the world's largest dirigible, the Hindenburg, it crashed. The Titanic, world's largest ship, it sank. And now you got the world's largest plane, and you know that, quite frankly, can be a very scary scenario. So it landed in Orlando. It stayed overnight so that people could see it. I don't think that they gave tours of the airline. They did with the news, and the news put it on TV as a newscast walked around in there. And yeah, I've been following the story for a while, and I'm just thinking, you know, man was never really meant to fly. And then you look at an airline like that, it's like they just keep getting bigger and bigger. You know, some of these Middle Easterns are buying them up. I guess they're 300 million a piece, each one, and they call them flying palaces. But it's just totally amazing how mankind is always trying to make something bigger and better. And it's like, you think about it, it's like, yeah, if something like this drops out of the sky in a neighborhood like my own, it's not going to be a neighborhood. You know, it's one thing to have a few small private jets flying around, but these airliners are getting so large. I mean, if one's going to hold 600 passengers, in about 10 years from now, they're going to build one that's going to hold 1,200 passengers. You know, it's just because this Earth's becoming overpopulated, and there's just a higher demand, you know, for people traveling through airline industry. Trains, people don't really use them anymore. Everybody wants to fly. Which brings me to the story of all these articles, especially NASA coming under heat and the government, because a lot of these pilots and astronauts are coming forth saying, yeah, aliens exist. We've seen them. We've seen flying saucers. We've seen UFOs. And now there's talks that, there's been UFOs on the moon. And it's very sad to see that someone like NASA, a space exploration organization, set forth and funded by the U.S. government, hiding this truth, which is bigger than you or I. UFOs is life on other worlds. It makes us look small now, because it just tells you there's planets out there that are livable. There's planets like our own. There's planets with other species much more advanced than we are. And quite frankly, that scares a lot of people, because people like to think that humans are the superior race. We're not superior. We're about as low as you can actually get. We're destroying the planet. I had listened to the news tonight. Some guy's in jail because on Easter Sunday, the guy decided to stab this old woman working in her garden and rob her. And you just hear all kinds of different tragic stories on the news. And that's just local. That's just this area right here. I can imagine how it is in every city across the nation. It's just all the sick things that you hear about. Like the guy that left some woman in an abandoned house and raped her, for a week straight, and then just left her there, or whatever the case was. It's because this country has been built on lies. We're not a good country, and the people living in it are not good either. And it's man in general. Man just doesn't have any respect. Everything is lies, lies, lies. The UFO agenda, it's one big lie. The government's, we're testing craft. And at the same time, you have people that are skeptical and they don't want to believe that there's life in other worlds. And unfortunately, when you look at the numbers, we don't even know our galaxy very well. We don't even know our solar system very well, let alone other solar systems, other galaxies. Let's put it this way. There's 1 million stars in a galaxy, maybe even 100 million stars in a galaxy. And, millions and millions of solar systems within a galaxy, or we'll say galaxies. But let's say there's 100 galaxies, and each one's got 1 million stars in it. It's phenomenal. There's going to be other planets that are going to have elements similar to ours. Carbon, hydrogen, H2O, things that are necessary for a species to live. And so anyways, the pilots are coming forth, and there's a lot of pilots, retire ones, because the ones that aren't retired are getting fired because they're deemed crazy, or it's hush hush. So there's been a lot of controversy, and a lot of articles I've been sent in have had to do with that. And of course, a couple astronauts coming forth about the aliens on the moon, and that we have been visited, and that there is something, a higher presence on that moon of ours. And I'll tell you what, you could ever explore a haunted place or a paranormal location or anything at all, the moon would be it. Because the moon has caves, it's dark on one side, it's unexplored, there's no atmosphere to steer off into space. It's the type of place that probably does have some kind of alien life, intelligent alien life. What I'm saying is that maybe the moon has some alien bases on it, because it is close to Earth, and you look at the moon, what is it, 25,000 miles away, or no, it's 25 million miles away. I forgot what the stats are. No, actually, it's 237,000 miles away. I'll tell you, when I do these radio shows at night, sometimes I get a little bit disorganized, but yeah, 237,000 miles away. So, a trip around the world, what is it, 30,000, 35,000 to go around the world, something like that. So, yeah, the moon's actually not that far away. We've had asteroids come near the moon, giant ones actually, and miss Earth. And, you know, some of those are just, I mean, it's just phenomenal how close they get to Earth and they don't hit us. So, you know, when somebody says, oh, there's an asteroid that's going to be coming near the moon, people are like, oh, it's too far away to, and it's like, it's not. You know, it does not take long for actually, well, the Apollo to get to the moon, or space shuttle, but the space shuttle doesn't go to the moon. They just, yeah, they keep working up on that space station, and, you know, it's great to have a space station up there. Some of the guys that are in those space stations, they're seeing things too, and they're very careful with their wording, you know, but they do give clues, some of these astronauts and things that they're seeing, you know, seeing phenomenal that's beyond this world. Anyways, another story I'd like to cover is about the Bigfoot footage or photo that was caught up in the Pennsylvania Allegheny Woods. Now, we spent a lot of time looking for Bigfoot. We spent a lot of time in the Allegheny Woods because there's an area called Kinzua, which is supposed to be cursed by the Indians, and it's got a lake monster, Bigfoot sightings, caverns, catacombs. There's just so many secrets, and that's why I enjoy going up there. And I'll tell you, I mean, last year's trip, spending a week up there was just fantastic. But there's a lot of, you know, conspiracy going on up in those woods as well. There's a lot of people see UFOs floating over the dam, Bigfoot sightings. You have lake monster, and a lot of locals have a strange story to tell. You know, the Allegheny Woods are no mystery. I mean, yeah, you're dealing with hundreds of miles, at least a couple hundred miles of woods, and Pennsylvania mountains. And this guy's up there taking a picture, I guess, and he says, you know, it's Bigfoot. And it seems like he's got a lot of attention. There's been a lot of articles out. You know, some people have gone as much as say, hey, to anybody who's tried to look at the picture reasonably, those people have been criticized. You know, some people have tried to say, hey, I know it's Bigfoot. You know, and everybody wants to see it so bad. You know, they'll assume whatever it is. But, you know, when you study the photo well enough, and you look at it, the mane's black bear. Black bear with a little bit of a skin disease, and the hair goes off on it, and you can clearly see it's just standing on all four legs. It's not standing on two legs. It's not bipedal. You know, it's just, it almost looks like it's trying to maybe climb or look at something. I don't know. You know, bears are a big mystery as well. Nobody ever finds their skeletons in the woods or anything. Which brings me to the reason of why we never find any remains of Bigfoot. But it is obvious that it is a bear, and, you know, people are still trying to debate it, and, you know, it's just, my personal opinion is that's what it is, and I'm a paranormal investigator, and of course I get excited for any Bigfoot evidence, but in this case, it's not a Bigfoot. You know, some people just don't understand. This is a creature that's not easy to photograph. Even if you got your camera on you, I think it's one of these things that's an element of a surprise. You know, you're riding down a logging road, it crosses in front of you quick, real quick. 1, 2, it's gone. I mean, this thing takes 6 to 8 foot strides, and it has no problem being elusive, and a lot of times it is on the run. You're not going to get it on film. This is not an easy thing to film. This thing knows, this thing's smart. But that's my opinion, that it's a mange bear. Not to say that there's no Bigfoot in Allegheny, because the answer to that is yes, there is. There is a lot of Bigfoot sightings up in that area. Pennsylvania, Florida, California, those three states right here, they have a lot of Bigfoot activity going on, a lot of sightings that aren't reported. I've hiked a lot in the Allegheny Woods. A lot of logging roads. There's a lot of places just that go for miles, trails along ridges and rock formations. A lot of caves. There's at least in that area of Kazua alone, and the county next, I'd say about 3 counties around it, have at least 100 caverns or caves. Some of those caves go pretty deep. Some of them have chasms. There's this one cave up near in the Allegheny Woods. You got to take rope, and it goes down 80 to 150 feet down into a cavern. And you got to have equipment for that. You got to have the winch to lower you down and everything. So who knows what's down in these places? A lot of paranormal things. I think Bigfoot's out there. I don't think that he'd be that easy to photograph. And it's just like the Patterson Bigfoot footage. You know, till this day, people still want to believe in that footage, despite that it's been proven false, with high-tech equipment and so on. And of course, there's a million other reasons, like he admitted it right before he passed away, that the film was fake. Then his family came forth about the gorilla suit and that he ordered. And it's just on and on and on and on, you know, and people gotta say, hey, something's not adding up here. You know, something that's over 30 years old is just not credible. It's like, why haven't we gotten any evidence in the last couple of years of Sasquatch or Bigfoot in the woods? So either, you know, it's getting smarter, or we're, you know, as a society, we're just not looking where we should be looking, and our priorities are elsewhere. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that mankind's priorities are involved in the cars, houses, oil, caught up in work, and all these extra things, as opposed to someone like me trying to put my energy into something that's going to change the world. You know, I want people to learn and benefit from our investigations and journeys. Try to understand that there's more out there than what you're being taught. So with that, I'd like to conclude the show. I'd like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Please be safe. Remember not to drink and drive. Our next trip will be up in Savannah, Georgia. I am going to be getting a ticket to go up there in probably about a week or two. And I will spend the night in haunted Savannah, touring the brick streets and the old pirate historical sites. And then I'll jump on back home on the bus. So if anybody wants to get involved in an organization in trips like these, just get in touch. If you have any questions, if you'd like, I have posted, if you're on the forums, I've posted a Christmas wish. It's called the PGS Christmas list. Basically, it's just a list that I put out there of things that my organization needs. Our equipment gets old. We go out in the elements, it gets broke, it breaks, it gets moisture in it. Our spotlights start to, actually they stop working, the batteries become dead in them after a while. So we're always looking for batteries. We need at least a new digital camera, we need an EMF detector, definitely a digital recorder so I can start putting EVP on the site. Always looking for film, anything that's going to help us. And you know, if you buy us or purchase equipment as a gift towards the organization, you know, at least you know we're putting it to use. We do a lot of investigations. I share my equipment with my investigators. If somebody were to donate a couple EMF detectors, I would hand those to my investigators to use per investigation. You know, it's just everybody's got to do their part and everybody's got to help. And also, I'd like to take a time to thank Mike Digital of digitalphotography.com, spelled with a J, not G's. And he contributed the theme song for this show. And of course, we'll be integrating it fairly often into the show. I hope you like it. It is nice to see that other people are helping and doing what they can. And, you know, some people always say, well, you know, I'm short on funds, I can't donate. Well, there's so many ways to help this organization. Because what people got to realize is that I got 3 sons at home. You know, a lot of my energy gets put into them, and as they get older, I get less time. And it's just so hard for me to keep track of all my forums, and the website, and the research, and the hosting of meetups. And then I got to do my send of articles, and I got a family to take care of, my kids. You know, it's just a never-ending thing. And so I definitely am currently looking for people who can be moderators, people who can donate, people who get involved and attend our meetups, people who contribute, anything of the sort. And speaking of contributions, our meetup is actually the 3rd Wednesday of every month. Our current meetup is a very special one. We never know who's attending, we just advertise it, and if you show, you show. But we're going to be discussing the logo. And we try to do a new logo at least every 6 months to a year, and that logo gets put all over our site as the years go on. We also use that logo on a lot of our products. Beer steins, coffee mugs, t-shirts, backpacks, clocks, office supplies, you name it. We put our logos on there, and some of it's collector items, because once that's done, that's it. You can't get it no more. People are very happy with our logos. I mean, they're great to wear in public. They're not embarrassing or anything. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to wear any paranormal shirt, but you're not. You know, you're wearing something that supports your organization. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, get yourself a coffee mug, get yourself a beer stein. You know, take your coffee mug to work, and when people ask, hey, where'd you get that? Different, or that's cool. Tell them, hey, check out the Paranormal and Ghost Society. These guys go out and they risk their lives every couple weeks, and they go to these places where, you know, where it's dangerous. Caves, abandoned buildings, haunted houses, spooky cemeteries. But we work hard at what we do. It never matters if people criticize us or they don't believe us. You know, we're a very honest group, and we're just about having fun and going and seeing things and learning things. That's all it's really about. A lot of people look into things more than what they should be. You know, we got people sitting there thinking that I'm some rich guy. And you know, the sad thing is, right now all my cameras are broke. My digital recorder, it was either stolen or came up missing on an investigation. My EMF detector is so old, I'm not even sure it works very well anymore to pick up the EMF readings. We don't have a thermal detector. Some of this equipment is rather inexpensive. I just can't afford it because all my money goes into oil, or should I say gas, for my tank, so that I can travel to these locations so I have something to put on the site for our fans and members. So we're definitely working hard. There's only a couple more investigations left before I leave Florida. Actually, I'm leaving to go out west very soon. I just have a couple more places. I'm going to be taking my son to Universal. Universal Studios has a couple rides supposedly that are haunted. So I will be bringing those stories to the website. That's something you can all look forward to. Even if I don't get no ghost photos, I'm definitely going to Universal to have a good time and to at least bring a little bit of ghostly stories to the website for entertainment purposes, you know, so people can actually read them and learn a little bit more about such a place. You know, we always try to choose unique places that we go to. We're not like all the paranormal, like let's say, alright, the paranormal groups in Florida. A majority of them go to cemeteries only. Sometimes they go to the same cemetery once every month, and that's their investigation. Well, that's not us. We try to bring you a variety. We try to cover different places. We try to see things. And, you know, speaking of seeing things, I know I got to close the show, but about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, the last cemetery that we were in, it was segregated. There was white and there was black. The white across the street, and then the black section was all woodsy, overgrown, very large. But almost every stone was either vandalized or something was wrong with it. Rags or beer bottles on it, or garbage in the cemetery. It was just horrible shape. Very dark, very airy, very large. And, I walked in and I spent some time. Of course, like most of the time when I investigate, I'll split the group up or I'll go off and do my own thing. Well, I got ahead of Donna, which is my investigator right now, and she was off taking some photos. I couldn't even see her flash because that's how thick and the fauna is in the cemetery. It's just overgrown by shrubs, trees, tree moss. It's just, you can't see a camera flash from the opposite side of the cemetery. And I did not see any of her flashes. I couldn't even hear her barely calling for me. Well, I ended up turning around because I'm a pretty observant guy. I'll always cover my own back, and because I want to make sure that something's not behind me. And I thought Donna was directly behind me. I thought she had caught up. I didn't realize she was on the other side of the cemetery taking photos, doing her own little thing, which is fine. And I seen a figure. Looked like a black woman. The skin looked a little bit darker. She looked voluptuous. She went from left to right in a blink of an eye. They move so fast sometimes. And you only get a 1 or 2 second glimpse. But she moved from left to right. And I don't think she liked the idea that I had caught her, or actually had seen her. And I think it startled her because when I turned around, she went from left to right real quick. And it almost looked like, it was just really weird, but it looked like her head was turned towards me. And she just went from left to right. So she knew, she's aware of what's going on as an entity or a ghost or whatever you call it, because she had looked at it. It wasn't just, one of these things, her head was just turned a certain way. She's just a phantom residual ghost. She knows she's haunting the cemetery. She's seen me. She went from left to right. She tried to get out of the way so I would not see her any further. So that was my ghost sighting a couple weeks ago. Sure, I didn't see the Bardinville Booger, but I did see a ghost. So hard work does pay off. I don't sit here and make stories so people can start going to the cemeteries looking for ghosts and vandalizing, but I'm sharing my story with you. Whether you choose to believe it or not, that's up to you. The afterlife, does it exist? You bet. Thanks for listening.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up